All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the Coaches and Coxswains meeting for this Saturday's Chargers Junior Invitational. My name is Dave Casano. I am the Regatta Director for the weekend. On the phone, I have Jake Herrick, who will be serving as our head referee. And we're going to go through the information you need tonight. And then again, as mentioned earlier before the recording started, we are recording it, and I will be emailing out a link to it. And we'll either get it up onto the Regatta Central website or we'll get it over to the Chargers website, whichever is easier. If you have any questions at any point in the meeting, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I do have the chat up so I can see it, but hopefully we'll cover everything and avoid any questions. So what you're seeing on the screen, I hope most of you were able to spot, but if you go to the Regatta Central page and go to the venue tab, we were actually able to get some video of the course with a drone. I don't know if this is going to play smooth, but I'll play it anyway. It'll probably play smooth on the recording. But this is the race course. So we start out on the lake. These are the lighthouses, if we refer to the lighthouses. So as you come into the channel, right about now, we're at about 11:50 to go. So that will be where the time trials will start. And as you can see, you'll head towards the bridge. If you look at the Long Branch Bridge, this is the green bridge back here. You see there's like 3 pyramids. The peak of each pyramid are the lanes. And we do have yellow placards on each of them. So over here on the left will be lane 1, center of the river is lane 2, and on the boathouse side is lane 3. So again, there's yellow placards on this bridge with numbers. So the Coxswains will have a course as they come through the bridges. And right about here, we're at about 7:50 to go. And as we drop down, you have the 2 Syracuse University boathouses and the 2 Charger boathouses. So as we come into this stretch, we're coming up on around 500 to go. So where this white car is parked in this pontoon right here, we're passing the 500 to go mark right now. And as we're heading towards the finish line is on the other side of the Double John Glenn bridges. So at this point here where this orange sign is, we're at about 350 to go. And we'll proceed through the bridges. For the local teams, again, it's counter to what we're used to doing, but make sure you're going to keep going straight towards the island. The river does fork in each direction as you come through these bridges, but make sure you go straight towards the island. Don't turn. The tendency is to try to go over here to the right. And then right about here will be the finish line. So that is a nice view of the course. So feel free to share that video with your Coxswains. Again, the link is on the Regatta Central page on the venue tab. But I guess if we come into Google Earth, as we mentioned, here are the lighthouses. The start of the race is out here in the lake, weather permitting, of course, and we'll race down the channel. As I mentioned, here is the Long Branch Bridge. So at the peak of each one of these triangles is the lanes. So center is lane 2, over here is lane 1, over here is lane 3. As you approach, we will be using Syracuse University's dock as the out dock, and the Syracuse Chargers dock will be the return dock. Both docks are capable of accommodating 4/8. We will have dock masters at each location. And fortunately for us this year, both Syracuse University programs are away this weekend. The women are at ACCs and the men are at sprints. So we don't have to accommodate any of their practicing. So we have full access to the docks. I'll show a map here in just a minute of how we're going to approach the launch side and then retrieve. And again, right here at the end of the Chargers dock, there's a cluster of wooden posts, kind of where my cursor is. That's around the 350 to go mark. And then if we come down here, here's the double bridges. And then right on the other side of the double bridges, right about here will be the finish line. And again, we just ask Coxswains to continue straight. We will have a buoy on each side of the finish line, and we ask that all 3 lanes have to finish inside the buoys. And then we will queue you up over here, and as soon as you have a clear shot, we will send boats back to the dock. The traffic pattern will be all down lane 3 for the time trials. So it will be a one direction flow down lane 3, and all of the time trial racing will be done in lanes 1 and lanes 2. So when you get your bow numbers, just like it states last week, if you have an even number bow, you'll come down lane 1. If you have, even number bow, you'll come down lane 2. Odd number bows come down lane 1. What we did is, since we have recent data, when we put together the time trial order, we did it based on the order of the time trials from last weekend. So if you're rowing a boat that did not row at States last weekend, or a lineup that didn't row at States, we put them at the back, and we automatically took any B boats and slid those to the back as well. So during the time trial, the intent is to get a clear and safe race. We're going to start you with plenty of time between you and the boats in front of you. We've built enough time into the schedule to accommodate that. The point here is not to be passing. As you can see by our course, it can be narrow. So we don't want to get into any issues with boats interfering with each other during the time trial. We did reduce down the time trial schedule to only those events that have 4 or more boats. So if it's 3 or fewer boats, they will race a final only. I'll show the schedule here in just a second. So again, in the email last night, you should have received this map, which is an overview of the sprint race course. So this is the finals race course. So again, starting out here on the lake, we'll have 2 buoys on either side. In the channel, we'll have single buoys at the 1,000 and 500 to go. And then we'll have double buoys on either side of the finish line. And again, for visiting teams, we've kind of put some reference marks here. So at the mouth of the channel at the Green Lighthouse is roughly 1150. At the Long Branch Bridge, that's approximately 750 to go, so about halfway. And then at the far end of the Chargers dock, where there's a cluster of wooden posts, that is around 350 to go. So again, this was sent out last night. Coaches, feel free to reach out if you did not receive it. We'll talk a little bit about launch and retrieval. So as I mentioned, all launch and retrieval are going to happen on the Syracuse University and Syracuse Chargers docks. Syracuse University's dock will be the out dock, and the Chargers dock will be the in dock. Like years past, we'll have all the trailers, visiting trailers, out here in this parking lot. And the Chargers will obviously be launching out of our own boathouse. What we're going to ask you to do is you're going to bring your boats through here. You're going to walk down this path, and then you will turn in at the University Boathouse. You're going to come through. These 2 trailers won't be here. So you're going to come through the 2 and out here to the apron. You'll get your bow ball, your check-in, and your heel ties, and then we'll get you onto the dock. As you go out to the dock, you're going to launch with your bows facing the lake, which for our home cruise is something a little different. So we're going to launch bow to the lake. And again, the lane closest to the boathouses is lane 3. That will be the travel lane for the time trials. We'll talk a little bit about the traffic pattern for the finals here in just a minute. And then retrieval dock is the Syracuse Chargers dock. If I zoom in here, you can see that at the end of the Chargers dock, there is a cluster of posts here, wooden posts, but there is enough room between those posts and our dock to fit boats through. So we will have people there to help catch. As you come in, you'll stay tight to this shore in lane 3, and then come in again with bows facing the lake. And then for the visiting cruise, you'll just follow this path back out. You'll follow this and then back out to the road. The only thing we would ask, I saw some crews doing it last year. It's nothing critical. It's just a longer walk. Is probably not to follow Ten Eyck Drive here. Is to take this shorter road to get back to this lot. Also, when it comes to parking, for those of you who have coaches that are bringing their own personal vehicles, we're going to park them along the inside of this road here. So there will be vehicles parked on this road. So it's a much safer bet when you're bringing boats to and from the dock to make sure they come down this road here. Again, this map was provided last night. So hopefully everybody received it. So again, parking out in the far lot, traffic pattern is down to the outgoing dock. Again, here is lane 3. Travel lane. And then as you come in lane 3, you'll come into the incoming dock, and we'll send you back out to that far lot. Okay. That traffic pattern for approaching and retrieval will be the same for both the morning time trials and for the afternoon finals.
Hey, David.
Yes, go ahead, Jake.
Sorry to interrupt. Great question in the chat there just before we move away from the parking.
Can Can
if
people bringing their own singles park in that area? What I will probably do is I know there are 3 singles that are entered. What I would probably have you do is I'm probably going to have you park your vehicle on the grass here, and then you can rig in this grassy area. So we'll probably do that because I do have 9 trailers. So I do have all of the trailer spots in here will be occupied. And from a safety perspective, if you're car topping a single, it's probably going to be safer for you to park the car over here, and then we'll let you rig in the field. So hopefully that answers that question. As far as the property itself, the one thing we would ask is at no point should you or any of your athletes or spectators or visitors be on university property other than the apron and their dock. So there's nobody should be in and around the main SU boathouse up on this apron. There's no spectating from down here by the university launches, and certainly nobody up on the apron of this building. All the doors will be closed. So just, please, we have a good working relationship with the university, and we just want to make sure we don't do any damage to their property. As far as rigging goes, I know people have asked this. So for the trailers out in this lot, you'll have full access to this entire green field here. You can also use this space here. I know one of the teams earlier today asked about setting up a small tent out here for their athletes. That is fine. What I would ask is the food tents should not be over here. We'll talk about food tents here in a minute. But if you want to set up a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 just to give your athletes some shelter, we certainly have room in any of the grassy area here. I would just ask that we probably need to stop right about here when we get to the edge of this university parking lot. So everything to the right is certainly fine. The other thing to keep in mind is that the park is open. So this path here that the boats are walking on, there could be joggers, there could be cyclists. So, just be aware and be courteous. We do have permission to use the site, but the park is open. We don't shut the park down for the event. So if we come back, so let's talk about traffic pattern for the afternoon. So in the afternoon finals, what we've done a few years back is we went to a grouping system. So what we will do is we will be launching 4 events at a time. So that would mean that 12 boats will launch, and those 12 boats will go out to the lake. We will corral them up out on the lake over in this area here. And then we will start, they will run on 5-minute centers. So the entire group will be done racing in approximately 20 minutes. So that looks like this if I bring the schedule down. So here is the morning time trials. I have updated the heat sheet, or will be updating the heat sheet right after this meeting online. So if you go to the Regatta Central page and you go to the heat sheet, this will be updated. So this has the time trial starting schedule. I was able to slide the start back just a little to 8:30 instead of previously it was listed at 8 o'clock. I did send this out to all of the coaches and received no conflicts back. So this will be the final schedule, version 3. If I go to the finals page, so these are what the finals look like. Again, we have 5 groups. Each group has a specific launch time. So group 1 will launch at 11:20. They'll have approximately 40 minutes, and then beginning at noon, we'll run a race every 5 minutes. When the last race in group 1 comes down, identified as 12:15, 5 minutes later, the next group launches. So as the 12:15 race is coming down the course, the group 2 boats should be making their way to the dock area. We will have slings there, or you can certainly bring your own slings. As soon as this last race goes by, the next group of boats will launch. Again, the idea here is we're not going to put more than 12 boats out. It makes it easier to wrangle. We do have 4 chase boats. So myself, Coach Dalton at Liverpool, Jake Herrick, and Larry Gallagher will be our 4 following boats. So we will bring 4 races down the course at a time. We just ask, make sure you don't come to the launch before your group's prescribed time, just to make sure we don't clog up the out docks. If there's any issues with equipment or rowers or coxswains, certainly let the dockmasters know, please, or certainly let me know ahead of time if possible. I know one person has already reached out, but let me know if you have any tight scheduling, so that we can accommodate that and we don't get off schedule. We will provide bow numbers for the time trials in the morning, but we ask you to provide your own bow numbers for the finals in the afternoon. One other thing I was able to do for those that didn't see my email from earlier today is we did have 2 events that were 10 or more boats, those being the girls senior 4 and the girls junior 4. And because of the way the schedule worked out, I was able to add a petite and a grand for those. Only the grand will receive medals, but it allows 3 more boats to get a race on the course, as opposed to just 3.
This is yours.
And that way we can just get more boats out. I think the girls junior 4 had, I think there were like 13 or 11, and the girls senior 4 had quite a few as well. So those are the only 2 races that will have petites and grands. Everything else is just a straight final, 3-boat final. And I have spoken to some of the coaches. We did have to combine some of the events to make sure that everybody got a race. So for example, the girls and boys singles will all race together. We will work out how we're going to start them. And then we also added there was 1 boys second 8. We added them into the boys junior 8. So that will be running as 1 event. And then the last one that we had to do is we have the 2 girls senior doubles, and then there's 1 girl senior quad. We will race them all together. The singles and the double and quad will not do a time trial. However, there is a time trial for the boys junior and second 8. And again, we'll determine for the girls senior double and the quad. We'll probably let the doubles lead out with a certain amount of time, and then we'll start the quad behind them. You'll notice at the very end of the schedule, there is a B event for the girls freshman novice 4. So if you're unfamiliar with our regatta, one of the things that we do is at times we do recognize that a lot of the B-boat athletes, especially at the novice level, often don't get a lot of recognition or opportunities to row twice. So what we've done is any novice event, whether it's an 8 or a 4, that does have more than 2 or more B entries, we do add a B final. That final is only for the B boats. So A boats will not be put into that B boat final. It is only for, in this case, there are 2 B girl novice 4s. It will only be for them. However, we will run them in a time trial. So if one of the B boats does earn a spot in the A final, we will not take them out. We will let them stay there. So that is what the differentiation is here on event 17 at the end of the day. So if neither of the 2 B boats that are currently entered make the A final, we will let those 2 B boats race each other, and we do have a set of medals for those 2 boats because we recognize that retention is important, and especially with your novice athletes, that's how your varsity gets bigger. So we want to give those kids an opportunity. Unfortunately, there were no other B entries in the other novice events or enough of them to justify a B final, so it will only be for that girls freshman novice 4. So this is the schedule, and then what we've done is we've also included a weather contingency. So if the lake becomes unmanageable or difficult, what we will do is we will shorten the race from 1,500 meters down to the same starting line as the time trial, so roughly 1,100 meters. We will also adjust the groupings. So instead of groups of 4, we go down to groups of 2. It means that for a lot of the races, they're pretty close to where they were. The order is exactly the same. We didn't change the order for the weather contingency. We just put them into groups of 2. Mainly, this is because we didn't want more than 6 boats on the water at a given time. It's just a lot easier to manage, and frankly, it's just a lot safer. So each of the groups has its own launch time. The launches are a little bit tighter, so there's not going to be a ton of time for them to warm up on the water. You'll notice there's only about 20 to 25 minutes from when they launch to when they race. But there's also not a lot of distance either. So where they're going to launch on the Syracuse University dock, they're only going to have, not even 500 meters to get to the starting line. So in the event that we have to activate the weather contingency and shorten the course, you're probably going to have to find some opportunity on land to do a little bit more warm up, because we're going to mitigate or minimize the amount of time that they're actually on the water and subject to the adverse weather conditions. If things do get bad, generally they will flatten out by the time you get into the channel. So that's why the majority of the race course is in the channel. But if the lake becomes unmanageable, we will shorten it and bring it in. Regardless of whether we use the weather contingency course or the regular course, they're all floating starts. There's no stake boats. We will align floating starts and start them there. So that covers the schedule. Let's talk a little bit about site logistics. Everybody's favorite topic, food tents and food trailers. So a couple things about the site itself. If I zoom in, this bridge here, this single lane bridge will be closed for the duration of the regatta. So there will be no vehicle traffic across that bridge. On either side of the bridge, there is a path. We do have to keep those paths open, please. The park is still open, so you could have joggers, bikers, rollerbladers, people still actively using the park, so we can't block those walkways on either side of the bridge. So we just ask that, please don't go up there and set up folding chairs or anything on those walkways. Try to keep those clear if people are still active in the park. Another big thing about the regatta side of the river, once this bridge closes, there will be no vehicle traffic coming from here. Please, coaches, I can't stress this enough. You should not have anybody coming down this road to drop off athletes here, okay, at the mouth where the trailers are trying to get lined up and get queued in. So please, no athlete drop off here. All athlete drop off has to happen on this side, and they can just walk across the bridge. That includes our local teams. So what we will end up doing is for the local teams that have their school buses, we'll bring them in the way we normally do in here behind the boathouse. We'll drop them off, and then those buses will go out and they will go back across to the other side of the river. So please, every year it happens, and every year I get a bunch of angry parents that don't understand why they can't stop and drop their kid off. It's because we said so. And we have park rangers ready to enforce that. So please, we got to keep this area clear. And there's no kind of come in, turn around, and then go out. So please have your teams and your buses drop off over here, and then have your athletes walk across to this parking lot. The only vehicles that will be allowed past this point here will be obviously the trailers and their tow vehicles. If you do drop your trailer tomorrow night, we will allow you to bring the tow vehicle back in. And again, I did send an email to all the coaches asking who is consolidating, who is sharing trailers, and then for them to provide me the list of what coaches might have their own personal vehicles. So most of you have been good about that. What we'll do is we'll allow those coaches to park on the inside of this road here, but that is only for team coaches. So any buses, actually, I think I should have room for the two Emma Willard vans. They mentioned they were bringing their team over in two vans. I should have room for the vans over here, but any team buses should drop off over here and then just let the kids walk across. There should be no, we need to keep this area clear. So please, this area should not be used for spectating. I would say we can be ahead or we can be downstream of the boathouses and the docks, but we need to keep this area clear. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic, boats moving around. We will have an EMT on site. That ambulance will be located right here next to the Middle Syracuse University boathouse. We also have a PA system. We will have a speaker out here in the far lot announcing the calls to the dock, and we will have another speaker that will face across the river so that the parents can hear what's going on. As far as the trailer parking, the lot where the trailers are going to park will close at noon tomorrow. So most of you, I think, have already kind of let me know when you're coming in. I'm assuming I didn't hear from any of the Rochester teams that they're coming in tomorrow. You're certainly welcome to. But I know a lot of the Hudson Valley teams are coming in tomorrow. So I put my email in the my cell phone number in the first email. I will put it in the second email that's going to go out right after this meeting as well. Just make sure to give me a call. As you can see, I only have a certain number of trailer spots here, and I got to make sure I get everybody in. So please give me a call and do not park yourself. I'm going to try not to have anybody here in the middle, so that everybody has enough room to get their boats out. And then what I'll try to do is trailer spots 1 through 4. We'll try to put anybody that has to thread boats out of the middle. We'll try to put them on that side. And again, you can use all of the green space in and around this lot for rigging, so you don't have to stay on the pavement to rig. We have not gotten rain here in the last few days, so the ground is pretty dry, including this area. This is a low spot though, so if there is any precipitation, it can get a little bit muddy down in the middle of this, but currently it is dry. So that's where the trailer parking will be. On this side, this is our spectating side. So this is where all the parents will park. There is no parking. This is Long Branch Road here as it approaches the bridge. There is no parking in this lot down here, and there is no parking along the side of the road here. The park rangers will be there. We'll have 4 park rangers on site, and they will be enforcing that parking. If we see it, we'll tow it. So please, no parking in either of these areas. So the directions that I provided for visiting teams and even for the local team spectators, you're going to come down Long Branch Road. You'll make a left turn into this lot. You'll follow the road all the way down. We'll have people here collecting money, and then you'll make the turn and we'll have parking in this lot area here. There is no parking on the grass. So as you can see, when they took this image, they have kind of regraded this. So they made this lot a little bit bigger. But please let your parents know it's $10. We need cash, just like all the other regattas. So just ask them to please spread the word. $10, have cash in hand, have it ready, so that we can facilitate smooth parking. We
And
will
Dave,
not. Yeah.
Dave, real quick, we might have a Venmo option as well too, but if we get that, we'll send that out.
Okay.
Like cash
Perfect.
preferred, and then we might have Venmo.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Tim is the Chargers executive director, in addition to being the Liverpool coach. So that's whose voice you just heard. We will not be charging for the buses, and we will not be charging for tow vehicles. So those vehicles will not be charged for parking. However, all parents will. I know it gets asked every year. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to kind of let you in and then let you back out. You know, there's no kind of wristband or anything that we can provide where if you wanted to leave and come back and not have to pay again. You know, we get asked that question a lot, and you know, please just don't. Our volunteers are volunteering their time. You know, please be courteous and patient with them. Down here, as we get closer to the water, this is where our food tents areas will be. What I'm going to try to do is there's a fence line right here. I'm going to try to put the local teams over on this side of the fence and then leave this big area for all of the visiting teams. If you didn't see this year, we did add a charge for the food tents. That can be done through the Chargers website. I did provide that information out to all the coaches. We've started to incur some costs in repairing the park after the event. So you know, the inclusion of a tent site fee is not just a price gouge. It's to help us with adjusting costs that we face following the event. So it was $100 per site. There was a limit of 2. If you do buy 2, we will make sure that one of your 10 sites is waterfront, and then the other one will be directly behind it. We will be marking out the sites tomorrow night. So again, we just ask that you know, when you get down there, we're going to do 30 by 30 sites. They're pretty big, so you should be able to accommodate, you know, two 10 by 10 tents, or 2 10 by 20 tents. So just make sure that you stay within your allotted area. There should be plenty of room along the waterfront. You know, I think last year we heard some rumblings that, you know, certain teams were kind of shut out of getting waterfront. So hopefully getting better organized with the tent sites and opening this side up for the local teams will help alleviate that. So this is kind of what the tent site area will look like. So we'll have, this is that fence line is the edge of this red line here. So we'll have some local teams set up here, and then we'll leave this for the for all the visiting teams. These little boxes I have are not to scale, so I'm guessing there is more than 6 across here. But as you can see, you get a pretty good vantage on the river. The only other thing new in this area is that the park has installed some, planted some trees. So there's some small saplings in this area. There's a line that kind of runs right through here, and then it runs along the edge. Please stay away from those trees if you can help it. We certainly don't want to damage those and do any harm to them. Unfortunately, if there is harm done to them, the chargers will end up getting charged for that. So please, for the trees, we'll try to maneuver people around them. Please, no stakes, no wood chips, no hay, none of that. We will be charged for removal, and we will pass that charge along to your team. Tim, do you have the updated list of any of the teams that haven't purchased a tent site yet?
There's only a few. I can try to get you those names.
Okay.
Like
I'll
myself, I have
include
to
them
get
in
to a
the email
computer.
that
Yeah.
goes out tonight. I just want to make sure that those coaches are aware that is the one change for this year, is that we did add that charge for the food tent site. I think I mentioned it. It's $100. So again, no vehicles, so no food tents, trailers, or tow vehicles should be on the grass. What we're going to do is we're going to line all of the food tents up, the trailers, I'm sorry. They can back right up to the edge. There is a rope line that kind of runs across this area that you can back your trailer up to, and then unfortunately you do have to carry the stuff down towards the waterfront. We can't be driving on the grass. That's a park rule. So again, looking at this map here, you're going to come into the lot here. We'll have people collecting money, and then we're going to have a row for food trailers to park here right at the edge. And then again, in this area, and even on the other side of the fence, we're just going to ask, no vehicles. And then again, no parking along the road and no parking in this lot here. We're trying to leave this lot open for people that are still using the park. You can also see here where the lanes are. So you get it's a pretty intimate race course. That you kind of feel like you're right on top of it. So there's really not a bad view. And again, the bridge over the river will be closed. I did provide directions. So all of the coaches, my email from last night should have included all of the directions. So we have general directions, we have shell trailer directions. My phone number is in there. We have information on the team tent vehicles, where they can and can't be, and then team buses and spectators. Again, $10 per vehicle. We're not going to charge the tow vehicles for the food tents or the buses or the shell trailers. But we just ask that as your folks come in, just please have cash in hand, so it just makes the whole process go a little bit easier. Medals will be done over here at the Chargers Boathouse. So once results are final, we will go ahead and award medals. If it's not raining, we'll have a tent set up outside. If it is raining, there's 5 bays across the front of the big 2-story Chargers Boathouse. We'll probably have the medals right inside what we call Bay 5, closest to the parking lot. So that's where medals and registration will be. As I mentioned, we'll provide bow numbers for the time trials. You need to provide your bow numbers for the finals. Please go in and pay your fees. You will not be allowed to pick up your registration if you have outstanding fees. If your team needs to pay by check, certainly bring that check with you. If there's any issues with that, I know sometimes dealing with the school districts, it can be difficult to get checks in time. Please make sure that you let me know that ahead of time, but we need those fees paid by registration. The last thing that I want to talk about, and Tim, I may turn this over to you, is before I talk about the weather, is we are going to try to do results a little bit differently this year. So taking a page from how things went last weekend in Saratoga, I know they've started to populate their time trials and finals in Google Sheets, and they just provide the link to everybody as opposed to doing it over Twitter or having paper copies posted. We're going to try to do the same thing. So Tim, I don't know if you want to, for a minute or two, just kind of talk through how that's going to work.
Yep. So just like we had up in State Saratoga last weekend, there is a Google sheet that the starting line and finish line will be real time entering data into. From that, like I said, with that link, you'll get basically the time trials as they happen. And this will be available to coaches, athletes, parents, and that should come in pretty quick. And from that, it'll also let us know like who's going to what final and what lane. So it's gonna be there and it's gonna be available. And the great thing is we'll actually have reception so you can check it. So, but it should be pretty streamlined and again available for everyone.
Yeah, that way your parents don't have to go to Twitter. They don't have to come to the boathouse side. We will have a paper copy so that when people pick up their medals, we make sure that people don't walk off with what they're not supposed to have. But we will certainly have a paper copy there as well. So we'll send the link out. If it's not in tonight's email, there will be one final email that comes and it'll be there tomorrow. I guess the last thing to mention, if you've been to Onondaga Lake before, you know about the weather. So right now the wind is, it seems to be kind of holding steady. So right now it's showing a southeast 7 pretty much all day. The way that our race course runs is a southeast wind is pretty much a tailwind straight down the channel. So hopefully that holds. The only downside to the tailwind is sometimes if the wind, if the number gets high enough, we get these kind of little rollers that come down the channel. Usually they'll dissipate by the time we get to the first bridge past the break wall. But we are looking at some potential wind, which is why we have the contingency plan in place. However, temperatures look good in par for the course. There's always a chance of rain. Seems like that was the theme this spring. But we're going to keep an eye on this. We will make a decision as quickly as possible if things turn south, and we have to make a change to the venue itself in terms of how far we're going to race. But we will we will make an announcement if that changes. So with that, the last thing is for the coaches that are on the call, I think I have everybody's trailer. I'm assuming Pittsford is bringing 2 based on the number of their entries, and I know historically they have 2. I have captured, which coaches' vehicles are going to be there. So if you haven't sent me this information, please send it along. That way I can let my parking people on the boathouse side know who's supposed to be there and who's not. So just send me preferably the names of the people that are driving their own vehicles. So that way we can kind of check them off and make sure that we have enough space for everybody as well. So with that, Jake, I don't know if you had anything to add at the end, and then we can certainly open it for questions for the last 5 minutes or so.
Again, David, you've been very thorough, and I don't think I really have anything to add. I just want to stress for all of our visitors coming in, especially our visiting Coxswains, that video that we started off with, the drone video, is a great learning tool to check out the course. Especially, where it gets narrow there as they kind of come in to the bridges. If they're not sure about where they need to be in that point, please make sure that they've reviewed that. Because that's.
And I did just put that link into the chat for the meeting as well. So if anybody wants to kind of copy and paste that now, feel free to go ahead and do that.
This is an awesome course that really does give you will give everybody a great opportunity to see some racing really up close. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope the weather cooperates. I think that's about all I have.
I guess we can open up are there any questions from anybody on the call? Feel free to unmute and ask your questions.
Hi, this is John from McQuaid.
Yes.
Just curious, how early will calls be for time trials?
Time trials, because of the short distance, they don't have to go very far from the boathouse to the start of the time trial. What I've been telling teams is that they'll get a 30-minute first call and a 20-minute final call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, looks like people are starting to drop off. If there's any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or unmute. Otherwise, I will send out an email tonight to the coaches, and then there'll be a third and final email going out tomorrow with any final information. But with that, I don't see anybody unmuting, so we're going to go ahead and stop the recording and stop the meeting. Safe travels to everybody, and looking forward to seeing you all on Saturday.